Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. Emergencies and disasters don't happen every day, but when they do, are you prepared? How will you be notified? On today's show, we're going to introduce you to a program right here in Torrance that will do just that. Torrance Police Chief Mark Masuda knows the importance of notifying the community of any situation that may affect the safety of our citizens.
As a police chief for the city of Torrance, it's my duty and responsibility to ensure the safety of our citizens and business community members. Our emergency services manager, Torrance Sutherland, runs the Torrance Alerts system, which allows our citizens, business members to opt in so they can receive notifications in the event of an emergency.
This Torrance Alerts service is a free service created by our Torrance Police Department. It is designed to send the community alerts via landline phone, cell phone, text message, or email. The city's emergency service manager, Torrance Sutherland, tells us how times have changed, and so must the city and how it responds to an emergency.
Technology has evolved since the 1980s. We see this now. Many people don't have landlines in their homes. They carry cell phones. They have alternate methods of notification. They use social media. So the way we've now had to evolve as a city in terms of notification has drastically changed. People aren't home to receive those messages, but still expect to receive messages. So how do we then communicate and effectively meet the needs of the community by notifying them in the platforms that they want to be notified in?
The Community Emergency Response Team is made up from Torrance residents who took the training from our fire department to help first responders. The ham radio operators were also used to communicate between the first responders and those volunteers who were a link to the community. David and Dorothy signed up for the training and still are active in the community volunteer services.
One of the big emergencies is if there's a large earthquake and you're at home, then you've got to make sure you're okay so that you can go out and take care of your neighbors who are not okay. And once you go through and you check and report back to your house, then you go and report to a station where they will deploy you to areas where your assistance is needed.
And with nearly 283 CERT volunteers and 78 ham radio volunteers already in place, they show us the official emergency bag that they use in the event of an emergency. They are proud of this volunteer help that they provide to our first responders. Soraya lets us know that things are changing for the good.
We are transitioning from Nixle into the Torrance Alerts system, and it allows for a much more robust notification process, allowing for individuals to really create customizable profiles that allows you as the resident, as the community member, to communicate your needs and wishes with us so that we can better communicate with you.
The CERT and ham radio volunteers will still be a big help in the event of a natural disaster. The big difference is that all who opt in to the Torrance Alert system will now receive important information directly from the City of Torrance, speeding up the notification process that was once not there before. Getting all the help from the volunteers also makes the recovery after a disaster much more expedient.
Torrance Alerts is a mass notification system to communicate with the citizens of Torrance in the event that there's an emergency or public disruption. Examples are traffic collisions, if we had an earthquake, if there was a boil water ordinance. It's a way for us to communicate with our residents to notify them of an extreme situation. So if you're traveling in the city of Torrance, I always tell anybody, if you work, play, or live in the city of Torrance, you should be registered in the system, because if you're just out and about and there's a significant traffic impact, we would then be able to notify you to avoid the area or to take alternate routes surrounding that incident.
The process to register is very simple, as Soraya takes us through the easy steps on the computer.
To register for Torrance Alerts, you go to this main city homepage at torranceca.gov. At the top of all city pages, you see a Torrance Alerts icon. By selecting the Torrance Alerts icon, it will take you to the information page regarding Torrance Alerts. It also allows you to register by selecting the link Register Now. This then will take you to the Torrance Alerts registration page. If you already have a user account, you enter your username and password. Otherwise, you select Sign Up. By selecting Sign Up, then you create a unique username. So for today's purposes, we're going to use an example one and a unique identifier. You need to ensure that you have a capital letter, a number, and a symbol associated with the username in order for the system to accept it. To create it, you also need to have a first name, so we'll just use example. And then last name will be test for today's purposes. And then the password also needs to ensure that it has at least one capital letter, at least one number, and a special character. So when you think about something that you use often to help you remember that password. So we are going to use, for today's purposes, okay. Then it asks you to confirm that. If your passwords are too separate, if you've made, for example, if you put in a different password, it'll prompt you that the passwords do not match, and then you just need to ensure that the passwords do match. You then are prompted with a security question. So we're just going to use Smith as the maternal grandmother's name, and then a registration email. So for today's purposes, we will use oes@torranceca.gov. And then you accept the terms and conditions and hit create your account. So now it will take you to creating your profile. It will then remind you of what the email address that you are registering with, your first and last name, but then here is how we can contact you. You have to have at least 2 ways for us to contact you. You can enter a primary cell, primary email, primary call cell, home phone, work phone, secondary. So it allows for up to 9 different ways, contact methods. So for today's purposes, we are going to put in a cell phone number, and we're just going to create something generic. But you'd really want to ensure that that's customized to your specific needs. You also have an email address that you've put in. Call primary cell would be the same phone number. And just for today, we're just going to put in 2 different contact methods. You can select which method you'd like to be contacted first by selecting the arrow signs up and down. So you can move these up and down and say, for example, you'd like to have your, email be first. So you'd like us to, let's move that down. If your email would be the first contact method you'd like us to contact you with, you'd then make sure you just move up and down the arrows how you want them. The nice thing about this is it will send you an email first. If you do not confirm notification within 1 minute, it will then call you, and it will continue to go down the contact methods till you acknowledge receipt of that message. We also have a mobile member app. Once you're done creating your profile, you'd then be able to download the mobile member app from the iTunes or the Google Play applications and download those directly to your phone. So once we've done that, we've got the first, last name, and email. You'd hit save and continue. Then you're going to add a location. So the nice piece about this is you can add multiple locations into this system. So for today's purpose, we're going to title this as work, and we're going to use just a generic email address. There we go. And you hit then verify address. So then it'll pull up the address and give you a specific, it'll kind of remind you what address you put in. If something looks different, then you just hit this is my location. Then you can add another location. And where this is critical is if you have children or you have a spouse that works in the city of Torrance, you can add multiple locations to this profile so that in the event that there's an emergency specific in that area that's identified, you will still get that alert. So for example, if you have a child at Jefferson Middle School, for example, but you don't necessarily live there, If that area is identified as a specific area targeted in a notification, even though you physically aren't there, you'll still get that notification because you've added that location to your profile. So we're just going to do one notification location for today, hit save and continue. You then have this option. This is called the opt-in services. So these are all the different city services. If you select on this checkbox right here, it automatically will enroll you for these different types of notifications. You can deselect them, and then you can actually opt into the different types of notifications you like to receive. These alert subscriptions, you will only get them through email or text message. We will never call you in the event that we send a notification. These are non-emergency notifications, but if you want to be involved or get a notification, for example, on the health and wellness program through the city, you select that notification and you're automatically opted in to that notification. The other examples are police department. So this is where if you were a previous Nixle subscriber, you'd like to get traffic impacts, crime trend bulletins, crime prevention, event reminders, any type of information related to this, you can then select. So the nice piece about it is it's very customizable and it allows for you to opt into different types of notifications, whereas Nixle before clumped everything into one large group. The other piece I'd like to point out is any type of emergency preparedness, hazards and alerts will send through this. Then also through public information. If you want to get any information related to the drought, for example, you want to ensure that you're opted into public information because we'll be sending public notices, press releases, any type of special events through that. So once you've determined, we're going to just select everything for today's purposes that you'd like to get this information. Again, this goes through your service provider. It'll only go to text message or email or mobile app. If you have the mobile map on your phone, you'd hit save and continue. Then it provides a section for you to provide us with your information. You can select all of these categories if they're applicable or none of them. You can always skip at the end of this, but this allows us to communicate with you and for you to communicate with us in the event you should need our assistance. So if you've been CERT trained, you can select that you have CERT training. If you're a Torrance volunteer for the city, you can select that as well. If you have background in counseling and mental health, you can select that as well. And it goes down the list. If you're a DSV member, you can select that as well. So it also provides for businesses, if you have any of these types of services provided at your facility, you can opt in to select those services. How that helps us here in the city is we then can identify adult care facilities, school or child care centers more readily in the event of a disaster by pulling up this map of the city, and these businesses that have registered for this system will then be able to see what types of services you have. If you have specific needs, you can also select these as well. Mobile impairment, supplemental oxygen required, home care assistance, etc. Then you'd hit save and continue, and this is just review the information you've entered. So this just goes through to ensure that everything is accurate, and then you hit finish. So it says, success, your profile has been created. You are now registered for Torrance Alerts.
I hope today's show has inspired you to get online and sign up for Torrance Alerts. You will be so happy to get all the notifications that happen in the city of Torrance to keep you and your family safe. I'm Hope Witkowsky reminding you, knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in next time for more secrets on successful aging.